Okay, hi there. Welcome to this late video. Just wanted to do another analysis when it comes to the Dylan Rounds case and community. So I guess with time, with all these different characters, with their personalities, how they can clash with one another, how audiences can as well. I mean, besides the observation which I've made most recently, coming in full effect now, getting yet something else correct, I sense that there are a range of different characters out there that have their own sayings, their own little quotes and lines, catchphrases to try and stand out from one another, which kind of makes some humans out there unique over others, right? Memorable lines. I just wanted to analyze the odd sentence tonight, just to make sense of it, because I do feel that in general, there are a couple of lines out there which are somewhat invalid and aren't exactly true. I have analysed language and words and people's actions, behaviour for many years now, over 10 years, so I've got an idea or two, okay? So, like, examples, when it comes to the shack lady, she's mainly along the lines of, let me talk, let me talk. That's kind of like the shack ladies. When it comes to Betty Hayward, hers is, you can't be serious, right? You can't be serious? Something like that. When it comes to Salty Pancakes, it's more along the lines of, my God, you petty ass. Such pettiness. That line. When it comes to anyone else, Doug, not really heard him much. When it comes to Miss T, it's not so much a line, but it's more when the finger comes up and points up, one needs to listen. You know, more of a body language one, that though. But you get the idea. And Kaylee, more of a noise. Something like that. And so on. And you get a few other people as well with their own little special lines. And, you know, they're the ones just going to be briefly looking at right now, okay? So one example is don't throw stones at a guy with a gun, or I think it was more so don't bring stones to a firefight. That line. I mean, let me know your thoughts down below, but the way I see it, the line, don't bring stones to a firefight, is kind of a silly line. Because if you're in a situation, an environment where you're limited with what items you have, having a few stones, maybe your only form of defense, and you use whatever you have around you, make the most of it. Okay? Times, situations, moments where you've left to your own devices, where you work with what little you have and make the most of it, that's what counts. Resourcefulness and adaptation. Putting up with what you have or what you don't have. Adapting, right? And overcoming the odds. You think of an example. When it came to David and Goliath, David significantly smaller in size. And what objects did he have? Not much. Just a few stones and some rope or something. Created like a sling out of it. Swung it about as Goliath was approaching a mountain of a man equipped as well with a great long sword. That stone was pelted at full force, full velocity towards the giant, knocking him out, killing him. The odds were against David, but he managed to overcome it. Okay? That's kind of like the equivalent of having stones against someone with a gun, a firearm, right? Maybe most of the time it doesn't work out, but if you act quick, on the spot, make the most of what you have and your surrounding, you may be able to overcome it. You can discombobulate the mindset of the individual with the firearm, maybe by throwing the stone or stones at the guy, knocking them out, knocking them off balance, maybe even throwing the stones at the person's hand, so it's like a bit of a misfire, and you simply dive out the way for cover, protection, whatever's around you. You know what I'm saying? It's just one of those silly lines. Don't bring stones to a firefight. You know, what happens if you're in a situation that you weren't anticipating coming across a person with a firearm? You know, it's just like on the spot thinking, adapting with what you have at that moment. So you get what I'm saying? It's just kind of silly. And, you know, when the odds are stacked against you, sometimes that's maybe when you come out more victorious because you got more fuel. There's more of a challenge. And sometimes when you're most challenged, that's when the best is brought out of you. That's why when you get in boxing MMA matches and you're competing against a very tough opponent, it'll bring the best out in you because you got to train harder, work harder, focus, put more effort in to overcome the strong opponent. So there you go. So the line, don't bring stones to a firefight, is kind of invalid and kind of pointless because there's many counter claims to it. Okay. Now the second line, and it's definitely an overused one used by the sheep and sheeple, and that is don't hunt what you can't kill. So I guess that the reason why that line is used because it's supposed to be said in a really cool cinematic tone, kind of like, don't hunt what you can't kill, because if you try, you will fail, you will fall, you'll be worse off. Don't risk it. It's not worth your time. Shh. Turn back, walk away. Okay? That's basically what it's supposed to mean. It's like some really hard-hitting cinematic line, kind of like, I will find you. I will find you. And I would use the other line as well, but then I'll probably get done by YouTube, you know, from that film, Liam Neeson, how you say his name. But yeah, the reason why the line, don't hunt what you can't kill, is a very low IQ line, and it's somewhat invalid, is because when you look back at human evolution with time, go back to the prehistoric times and onwards from there on, when you had the first humans upon this earth, when you had hunter-gatherers, whether it be people at each other's throats defending their own territories at the time and numbers dwindling there, or if it be humans back then, okay, evolutionary, hunter-gatherer, trying to get food, trying to hunt animals significantly stronger, more powerful, more deadly, greater in size, and much more, and maybe faster. You know, you think of the odds once again stacked against you. Many humans back then trying to hunt prehistoric animals, wild animals which are extinct now. Back then, many people crumbled. Many people tried, many failed. Kind of like how when people apply it now, such as on social media, you know, you can try and take me down, you can try and report me, it's just not going to work and you'll be worse off afterwards. But then when you compare it to with time and human evolution, yes, you had the foundations of some that attempted to hunt what they couldn't kill and as a result failed, but it was the stepping stones till somebody greater came on in and finished the job, right? You know, a different way of looking at it, like right now, you could be hunting a crocodile, you could be hunting a venomous snake, you know, some deadly animal out there. You fight it, you retaliate, you make your first hit, you try not to miss. Might be a glancing blow. It might just be a wounding shot, but not fatal. That wound doesn't faze the animal at the time. The animal retaliates back, greater in force and dominance, wiping the hunter out. Them being victorious in the end. But is that exactly true? No, because when it comes to a wounding of, let's say, an animal, if left untreated, it can lead down the line to being more vulnerable, more susceptible to infection, which can result in death, or just simply being incapacitated or impaired at a later point, maybe in mobility, movement, vision, senses, right? You get involved in a scrap, you win. You march across a battlefield, one against 10,000 enemies. You have the grace, the power from the gods to wipe them all out, total annihilation. But once you have walked through the masses and the corridors of massacre, at what cost? Cuts, bruises, seeping, blood leaking out, walking and walking to the point you drop to your knees, pass out, and death follows. You know, when you had the 300 Spartans, you had Leonidas, okay? Yes, they managed to fend off for themselves and defend till death. But when the 10,000 plus arrows blotted out the sun, it took them out one by one, eventually, okay? So like with an animal, down the line, if left somewhat vulnerable, or they become more vulnerable with time depending on the impact, the injury, somebody else can come on in and be more opportunistic and take advantage of those weaknesses. You look at it within MMA, a fighter might have a cut eyelid, okay, a cut above their eyebrow. You know, you keep punching that area, it's going to cause swelling and more swelling to the point where it impairs their vision partially, right? Or if you kicked someone's leg, or let's say there's a fighter that came out of training camp slightly injured, you capitalize upon that, right? People in the past may have fought in bouts with that individual and lost, but the one that was victorious may have sustained injuries throughout time, wearing upon the body. So when a new fresh challenger comes on in, takes them on, one has the upper hand now. So as said, those that hunt what they can't kill may fail but act as stepping stones, allowing future generations to come on in and take advantage and be victorious. So once again, that line at the end of the day is kind of invalid, but I guess humans want to come out with their fancy catchphrases and be kind of quirky to appear either hard, mysterious, or cryptic, okay? I think at the end of the day, just be a bit realistic, straight to the point, a bit of common wording, a bit of common sense, and that's pretty much it, okay? Sure, I've come out with some lines, quotes, and really over-the-top stuff, but it's for a reason, over the top, you know? If you feel numb, contact the local nun, okay? That's how it works. You know, if there are big tips, that will equal big nips, okay? When the nips point up, you know, blessings are coming, you know, etc., etc. We don't need to go into too much depth there, but I think most people with a brain can understand what is what, okay? What's funny, what's serious, and there are humans out there that are actually being serious when they come out with these invalid, pointless lines. So I'm just simply making sense of it all and explaining it to you, because I'm sure some of you are probably interested in the different thoughts and perceptions on this type of stuff, right? Because at the end of the day, if you are dealing with humans that can't, you know, word things appropriately or explain it clearly, then they kind of a lost cause. And I think we have seen that within the Dylan Rounds case community, that there are quite a few lost causes out there. And, you know, I do what I do, of course, but what I'd suggest to other people out there, you know, if you acknowledge that there are those lost causes out there, you know, it is what it is. There's not much more you can do, okay? It's one of those things. So with everything going on, still got things to cover in the Dylan Rounds case. Got some interesting, like 2 back-to-back map analysis videos, which will be really good. That just see which order I do it in, of course. Might be able to incorporate another aspect too in a separate video, maybe 2 in one day. We'll just see how things go. But thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section, And yeah, we'll leave it there for now. Goodbye, good night, and I'll see you next time.